what is the fear behind the fear? What is the argument behind the argument? And when you start becoming emotional intelligence, which we all have that emotional intelligence, we would say that some people are maybe more empathetic than others, but we should always consider the other ones. And honestly, if I would win at the detriment of someone, then my feeling would not be good. I would feel like it was maybe a little bit as a crook. It doesn't mean that I would not take it, but I would not go and hurt the person because he didn't see or because of his background didn't learn something. So this is actually key when you see how the world has to be changed. MIT came out with with Union College, they came out with a wonderful study. They studied that women have 2 more emotional intelligence than men, which is cooperation and collaboration. And it's proven. They gave difficult tasks to be handled by a group of women only. They would always succeed faster and better than women and men and than men. And it exists. Emotional intelligence, as Goldstein developed it, but there's plenty of subjects about this. That kind of emotion exists. The World Economic Forum put it in the top 10 skills that we have to have for the future is actually emotional intelligence. When you sit in front of someone and you realize that the person might be dysfunctional or might be hurt or might be sad or might be depressive or might be whatever, or might be actually narcissistic, or maybe you are the one dysfunctional, you can handle the situation differently. And honestly, with the quality of life that you can have, when you start becoming very ethical, abundance doesn't mean taking away from someone.
I mean, I tell people in my mediations and when I'm teaching people about having difficult conversations on their own that I think of every conflict as a practice for the next. And essentially every conversation that's difficult is a practice for our next one. And so there's no like one and done, get this tool. This is messy. Human interactions are messy. And I also talk a lot, this is self-preservation speaking here, about rupture and repair. You're gonna mess up again and again. And then using a tool, trying it again, forgetting it, using it in the wrong order, all of that is part of repair. And actually, the more you're sort of engaged in it, even if you're doing it poorly but with good intent and the other person shows you care, that is actually the whole point of it. It's not, I'm being too vague here, but in a difficult conversation, it's not acing it, it's trying it and having the other person see how much you care to keep trying.
Yeah, so I think it's all about how you posture with the other side. So if you're a know-it-all, then the whole posture from that is you're right, they're wrong, and you have to convince them that you're right. And what I've learned practicing law, I never, even though I spent all this money learning how to persuade, I never called up an opposing counsel and said, listen, I have a law degree from a very reputable institution. I'm a very well-recognized attorney, and I've looked at your case. And what I can tell you is that your case has no merit and you need to dismiss it immediately. And I've never had opposing counsel be like, well, thank you, John. I appreciate your analysis and I'll get right on that because you've persuaded me that my case is horrible and that I shouldn't move forward with it. Never happened. So persuasion only gets you so far. And sometimes people are overconfident in their ability to persuade. And so what this is it changes your whole posture. To say, and this is what I think effective negotiators understand, is you may have the right answer, but if you can't get the other side to the right answer, that right answer is irrelevant. And so the question, the more important question for negotiators is how do I get the other side to the right answer? And many times it has to be their answer, not your answer. And so this is where this process comes in terms of saying learn it all. You already know what you know. Now you've got to figure out how to learn what's driving them so you can connect what you know with what's driving them. And now all of a sudden you can put a deal together that meets their needs more effectively and meets your needs as well. And so what happens when you become a learn-it-all is you become a partner with the other side in terms of trying to craft a solution. And by taking that approach, you increase substantially the chance that the other side is going to say yes.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you could please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next episode.